Welcome to EdTech Connect, Innovators in Conversation. My name is Kiara, and we have today Fadl from Nexford University and Acky from Magic EdTech. How are you, gentlemen, this morning/evening?
Great, doing well. Thank you. Thank you for hosting us today.
Hi, Kara. Happy to be with you and Aki today. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining. And today we're going to do more of our discussion around AI, since everyone's talking about AI, but then also more into the intersection of business strategy, since you guys both work in education. And there's a lot of conversation going around on how AI is going to be integrated into our formal education pedagogy, and then also in terms of edtech companies and how they're bringing technology into the classrooms. And what does this look like for our future, our students, educators, etc.? So we're going to jump right into it. Our first question today is, we'll start with Fadl. What is your current usage and approach to AI? How has this been impacted or shaped by the president's executive order in April and other policies around the world?
Thanks, Kara. So I would describe our usage as sort of falling in three categories. So the first being from a curricular perspective, how can we use AI to deliver a sort of more modern learning experience that delivers the skills employers are looking for and that continuously evolves based on how those changes, how those skills are changing and how the needs of employers are evolving. So we use AI within the curriculum to understand the needs of employers and to significantly, I would say, accelerate our productivity when it comes to curriculum updates now that they need to be made at a much higher frequency compared to, say, 5 or 6 years ago. So curricular is the first front. Second is as a productivity enabler across the organization, which I think most organizations are doing today. And then the third is, I would say, as a driver for more personalized learning. So we're continuously looking at what are the things that we're doing that AI can take over. And then by saving that time, how can we reinvest that time to offering a more personalized handholding and support to our learner base? These are the three main areas. I wouldn't say, our approach has been impacted or shaped by the president's order back in April, just because Nexford was founded about 5 years ago with this sort of, we placed a big gamble on where AI is going to be today. And we needed AI to get to where it is today in order for our organization to be viable, frankly.
Yeah. I love that you guys are doing this kind of conversation with employers to figure out what skills are being needed. And I think that's really more where the market's starting to head in general is we have this whole rise of micro credentials, and what that means and why that's rising is because employers are like, okay, well, we have AI now. We need to make sure everyone's skilled and reskilled to meet these new requirements and bring that into the workplace. And the whole personalization, I'm looking at Acky because I know Magic EdTech's all about that personalization as well for digital learning. But I really like, just from reading Nexford University's content and approach, it's been something that I've been talking about in conversation with my own friends, colleagues, and people I meet, because it's different. I think it's shaking up the higher education sector in a good way. So love to hear that with your AI integration and approach, Fadl. Acky, turning it over to you. Maybe something to add with the personalization, but then also because we are in the States, the president's executive order might have had an impact.
Sure. So first of all, where Magic EdTech stands in the value chain within education business is that we actually help customers like Nexford to build their curricular products. And, so therefore, how we use AI to help those curricular products and how we help them make their platforms enabled for personalized learning. I think AI is a big boost, technology in that space. So with our promise of delivering better quality learning product, better aligned to state standards or competency maps, I think all of that work becomes much easier. And so our ability to deliver quickly at a lower price point uh, is possible very much with AI. So our, again, just like Nexford, I think, our journey in AI has been way before the current hype around AI. Needless to say, the hype is correct, because the generative AI has created that kind of hype, and the technology is very promising and very potential. Um, for us, internally, how we've gone about it is because we have different business groups addressing different value points for our customers. We've allowed each of the groups to adopt AI in a federated model. So therefore, there's a lot of innovation on the front when we are working very closely with our clients, because remember, there's a lot of experimentation that takes place when you're starting to adopt AI in each of these areas. And centrally, we have an AI practice which looks at what's going on, try different models, work with different cloud partners, and also in that experimentation, see what is most workable across all the business groups, and then pass on that knowledge to different groups. So talking about the usage and the approach, our focus obviously is adopting this technology to make the most out of it, and not get left behind, because we serve our customers. We want to ensure that we bring something which is leading edge for our clients. Internally, I must say, and I should be a little more transparent, it has been a challenge to adopt AI as aggressively for business functions like, HR, marketing, finance, sales. And this is where, again, a lot of experimentation is taking place. And one of the things that we're learning as you use these technologies internally, you have to be prepared for using those technologies very, very well. So, for example, having the right talent, and Fadl, I talked to you last time about this, is that we need to train our business function leaders as well as practitioners to, be AI aware, to go through some programs, combine the business knowledge and what the technology promises, to make the most out of it. And getting ready for that leverage of that technology requires many pieces to fall in place. Talent is the key one out there, and that's where I think Nexford plays a very important role. um, President's executive order, I think one area we feel that our customers are feeling, and we follow the tracks of what's going on with our clients in this market. So I think the fact that, President executive order talks about AI is priority for, children in education, it means there's a boost of in demand for bringing AI education. So earlier, if there was any debate around, oh, should we not, I think that's going away. And I see a huge surge in demand for AI curricula. And in turn, because that's what we do for our clients, we help them build those curricula, we help them build those platforms that deliver that curricula. We see that we'll see a lot more work coming our way. I think our schools, our educational institutions are now not debating it anymore. They're saying, let's get going with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that whole comparison. Like, should we not? Now it's like, no, it is game time. Let's get going
Let's get
here.
going.
So
Yes.
I like that kickstart kind of mentioned there. Now, a little follow up to you both, because you're talking about like experimenting, slowly starting to integrate it. We are in this whole conversation of generative AI, but now we're starting to see more of agentic AI popping up in the space. What are your thoughts on that? Are we seeing either of you experimenting with agentic AI right now in the either internally or externally? I'll open up the discussion to either of you.
So,
Yeah, happy to go first here. Um, we're definitely experimenting with agentic. I would say two use cases that come to mind, one much more complicated than the other. But to start with the simpler one, I would say on marketing applications. So on things like personalizing communications with inbound applicants um, based on their own career goals. So we're experimenting a lot right now on how we can um, build a much deeper understanding of career aspirations and career goals for the thousands of people who contact us every month, and then be able to, recommend the right programs based on their individual aspirations and their individual backgrounds, and prior learning experience, work experience, and so forth, including whether we can evaluate some of their prior work and informal education towards credit at Nexford. So that's one example. And then another, I would say, more complicated example, um, probably a longer term project, is um, updating curriculum as the gap between what's being taught and what needs exceeds sort of a certain threshold. So if you think about a field like, say, digital marketing or even AI itself, right? It changes quite rapidly. So we we are experimenting right now with a model that continuously analyzes what we're actually teaching and on the other hand, analyzes the needs of employers through a wide range of open source data, including job vacancies and reports and a whole bunch of other like ONET data and a bunch of other data sources, and basically continuously analyzes where there could be gaps and then triggers the need to update when that gap exceeds what we call sort of an allowable threshold.
Right.
Um, with the view to eventually actually automate the update itself. Right now, goes through our learning design team, but eventually, as systems become sort of more accurate, we think the actual updating of curriculum could become almost entirely automated as well.
Wow. That's really fascinating, especially the whole what you were mentioning in terms of the workflow with applicants. It's kind of like their own personal advisor, guidance counselor when they're trying to navigate, where do I get started? And then you have all of this data and you're about actually to guide them and say, this is the right pathway and here's why XYZ.
And Fadl, just to jump in here, that is the one area where we are also looking at alignment to state standards and competency maps. And again, you're taking it one step further, which is to the job market as well. So I know how the curriculum aligns to what the market's required, and therefore, often we redraw the competency maps as well. So therefore, I would really look forward to your experience in that in the coming future. We are right now working with one client to help them, from curricula to competency maps and state standard requirements in the CTE space, but not really going to the job market yet. So I think that would be a very interesting area. Within our own functions, we are trying again, same thing. I mean, marketing and sales is an area where we are trying to leverage the existing infrastructure that we have, because fortunately in that area we do have a lot of existing tools which solve specific point problems. So bring it all together in an agentic AI workflow and automate that. That is something that we are looking at. Needless to say, with a lot of caution, because we are all worried about the black box nature of agentic
Mm.
AI. We just still are not ready to give the control. So we obviously are ensuring that we are looking at what's coming out of that, and then playing around. And I think these technologies, that's the nature of this technology. I mean, you keep playing at it to be ready to use it fully. So again, the same thing. We tried with HR and recruiting. Recruiting is one area. We tend to recruit quite a few people every month. I think our pace of we tend to make about 100 plus job offers every month to our programmers. I mean, to hire our programmers and all. And that's one area we have a very high ratio of screen select of resumes, interviews. So if we can bring some, uh, if you can bring some amount of automation there, and again agentic AI promises a lot of efficiency in that space. Hopefully that is another area we think we'll be able to show some benefits out of agentic AI.
Yeah. Awesome. A lot of interesting things from the agentic AI side for both of you, it seems like. Excited to see it. Moving on to our next question. Can you share a specific example where AI significantly shifted your approach to solving a business challenge? Aki, we'll start with you.
So as I mentioned earlier, we work with our clients, right? And when we work with our clients are always looking for a quick time to market. How quickly you can help me, deliver this product in the market. So, and the other is obviously, can you lower the cost of building this product, right? And when I mean product, it could often mean curricular product, or it could mean a learning platform. So time, time is very essential, key over here. There are some markets which have, for example, back to school season, and we have to ensure that the products are there by that time. And some markets are purely competitive in nature. The earlier I get out in the market, the quicker I can grab market share. So it's all linked to revenue. And this is where we felt that some of the stuff that we would do for our clients, and some of our relationship with our clients of over a decade, it would, to release a title, to release a program, it would take maybe sometimes 12 months, 18 months, with a lot of work done by human labor. So to bring in AI, for example, in translations, or as I mentioned earlier, alignment standards, I think all of that, substantially reduces the time to market. So translations, for example, now customers able to look at, international markets, go into different markets very quickly with the product aligned to that market, very easily using AI. And again, initially we had some we had some adoption challenges, but I think over now, last 2 years, I think we become very good at it. And so our customers are able to release products in multiple markets, become global faster, quicker, and also ensure that the revenues are growing at a good margin clip.
Great. Awesome. Fadl, turning the question over to you.
I mean, to stick with the theme I spoke about earlier on curriculum, I mean, I would say a specific challenge we had was, how do you keep your curriculum up to date in a way that's financially sustainable, right? And as you increase the number of programs you offer, this challenge just keeps on becoming more difficult, right? And sort of, so I would say AI significantly shifted our approach to solving this business challenge, because the challenge has two aspects to it. The first is, how do you identify what are the changes that you need to make? And then the second is, how do you actually make the changes? And it's a continuous cycle of improvement. So I think the first part, AI changed more radically than the second part, but the second is on its way for sure. So identifying what are the changes to begin with is, something that is AI allows us to do at scale now worldwide, right? So
Well, yeah.
we can actually analyze, millions of data points a day in a way that was just inconceivable a couple years ago.
Mhm. Yeah, and you both kind of mentioned a little bit in terms of like the benefits and cutting some costs in these bigger projects or development. And a lot of people are nervous or fearful maybe that AI is going to replace me. What would be your initial response to this, since we did touch on the fact that it is helping to expedite the development of projects and also cut some costs?
I'll go first on that one.
Okay.
Fadl, when we started looking at AI in our organization, my biggest resistance came from my engineering groups, because I said, hey, we need to implement AI, use Copilot to ensure that, our engineers' efficiency improves. And so obviously, the engineers are smart. This, that means that, some jobs might get eliminated. I said, no, just wait and watch. And lo and behold, after, several years, we are seeing that we actually need more number of engineers to do work, because more work is coming our way now. Because we're showing efficiency to our clients, we're showing value to our clients, so we're getting a lot more work. I think there was this debate about, some entry-level programming jobs would go away. Also product management, entry-level product management roles will go away. I think in some ways, we actually are requiring more people now, because the programmers who had challenges with business requirements are now able to use generative AI to do that work. Similarly, the people who are doing business analysis work also are able to play around with the code, because they can use the generative AI to generate the code. Not that I would right away, let them do everything, because I would also watch how they are, what quality of work is coming out of them. The other thing is that there's a lot of new jobs that are getting created now. So, for example, in one area where I've seen a surge in demand is in the data annotation work, data cleansing work, data quality work, data management work, because that is fundamental infrastructure that you require for customers or anyone to implement AI. So suddenly I'm seeing a lot more work being created. Now, I do need talent who are well aware, well trained, well educated to use these technologies. So in some ways, there is a reskilling, and therefore, there's a need for some of us to go to some place like Nexford and maybe partner for building talent. So
Yeah. I will say, yeah, the CEO of Grok will agree with you, Acky, in that it's not eliminating the jobs, it's creating new jobs. And because of this now increase in productivity, we need more people then. So you're in alignment with him at least.
continuous reskill. And here's the good thing. I think people are aware of this. Even the kids who are out of school, they come into workplace and they say, no, I think we need to continuously reskill into this. So which is
Yes.
fantastic.
So true. And then, yeah, that's what we'll turn it over to you, Fadl Nexford, because then they would go to Nexford University and be like, I need to reskill in this. Where can I go? And you're like, we got the course. So
Yeah. So I agree with Aki. I think the reality is there will be many, many, many jobs that will disappear. So we need to be clear and honest about that. There's no doubt about it. I mean, thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. So baseline, I think to be real, like, yes, there will be many, many jobs that will cease to exist. Now, the question is sort of the net effect of that, right? So I think that's sort of what Aki's talking about, right? So at the same time, there are many more jobs, or there are many other jobs rather, that will be created as a result. The challenge is this: is it's not linear in the sense that a lot of folks, unfortunately, who are in these jobs that are binary in nature, just aren't going to reskill for different reasons. I mean, it could be personal reasons, it could be skill limitations, it could be affordability, it could be time, it could be cultural. There's lots of different reasons people don't upskill. Um, you know, so unfortunately, if you're in a job that AI can do very effectively, then that job's just no longer going to exist. So where I agree with Aki is, opportunity is there in terms of new jobs being created that require a different skill set. But still, the challenge remains: what's going to happen to those who don't upskill? But again, I would say, like, becoming AI first as an organization is going to be a trend. And eventually it will become mainstream, right? It's sort of like, lots of phases that we go through. I'm not saying AI is going to go out of trend. On the contrary, it's just going to become so core and mainstream and integrated within an organization where, X number of years from now, I think any organization that's not thinking and actively integrating AI within its processes and within its thinking is just not going to exist. Very similar to organizations that don't use the internet nowadays. Like, I don't think many of those exist anymore at scale. Like, there's still tons of small mom and pop shops. And, there's kiosks on the streets that sell food all over the world, right? Those are going to continue to exist, right? But beyond that, they won't. A business that doesn't think of AI the way we think of the internet today as just, really baseline is just not going to exist in the future.
yeah. Yeah. And you started going into our next question about this whole new, I want to say trend now, because several companies have announced it at this point. And I think one of the biggest ones right away to my attention with education and EdTech was Duolingo's CEO announcing becoming an AI first company. And where do you guys see this shift going? What implications for the future of work and education are going to occur as a result of this shift? And Fadl, you started touching on it, but let's really get into it, because what does it mean to become AI first? And then what is going to happen as a result of suddenly being this whole branded AI first company?
Yeah, I mean, happy to go first here. I think there's becoming AI first. I think sort of has two aspects to it. One is a traditional, design thinking approach, in the sense that trying to understand what is the problem that I'm trying to address, and then how can AI help me address this problem slash opportunity. And that's existed forever through different technologies, like this approach. Um, and then the second is more of a sort of an existential one, or competitive, not even differentiation. I would say it's just like almost like a defensive play. Uh, like if everyone else is becoming a lot more efficient, how can I continue to operate?
Right.
If I'm not using it, it's going to be difficult to do that, and that's going to, I think, apply to all industries. Within education, honestly, I think we've been seeing for decades now these articles about, is it time for disruption in higher ed, and when's the storm coming, and so forth. I think the storm is really coming this time around. Um and
Yes.
this notion that universities can continue to operate in these isolated sort of islands that don't abide by the general rules of the world, and aren't going to evolve, and aren't going to be forced to evolve the way other industries are being forced. Like if you look at what's happening in the financial sector as a result of fintech, or even e-commerce on traditional retail, I think that's very telling around what's going to happen within higher education. So I think you're going to see very significant implications on things like the role of faculty is one example, right?
Mhm.
What is the role of faculty in an AI-led university? It just can't be the same as what it's been for the past 100 years.
Right.
Um, so that's, I think, a core example of what's going to change. But I think also culturally, like the notion that people go to university for X number of years and sort of get disconnected from the rest of the world during that period of time, and all of a sudden are set up for success for the rest of their lives, is again, like, highly questionable. uh, and as a result of universities needing to adapt to that reality internally, universities will need to adapt their own cultures to become much more agile, and to understand that um, everyone's roles is going to need to continuously evolve based on the evolving landscape. And lastly, I would say on skills, like it's a huge, huge question. Like it's not just about what we're teaching, it's about how we're teaching. There's a very big debate, like even at Nexford, there's a very big debate around communication as a great example, right? What is the value of writing in 2030?
Yeah.
Is our writing skills still very valuable, or you know, does AI actually change that? And what's the difference between writing and communications? They're not the same thing, right? I think communication skills are becoming even more important than they are today, but writing is sort of a subset of that. And I would argue that, 5 years from now, whether we like it or not, I'm not saying it's a good thing, the value of being able to be a good writer is going to have dropped very, very significantly. So as a result of that, should we be teaching writing today? I don't know.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really deep question. I feel like one that I've been
Yeah.
reflecting even on myself is like, are we gonna have this whole AI generated writing section, and then the, old fashioned writing with the like original thought process and development in libraries? We won't get into that because I'll go on to a whole linguistics spiel too about my opinions on AI and the intersection with language. But I think what you're saying in terms of the approach and shift in education and making it more, I would say, applicable and tying back to tangible skills, I think you mentioned earlier with employers wanting to see at the one EdTech conference, that is definitely what I'm starting to see with some of the CIOs in these universities trying to do. But when they're describing the process of how they're going about this change, like developing new software internally and implementing it district wide, they're seeing a lot of pushback from faculty, as you mentioned, because they're like, whoa, this is kind of going against what we've done before, what we know. Like, hold on, slow down. And it's like, well, we can't slow down because we have all these new tech integrations, AI. And if you're not, as you guys are saying, like innovating with it, you're falling behind. So it's very interesting.
I would just like to say that, I think the important skill, I won't say the important skill, but I think one of the important skills going forward in future will be how we coexist with AI, how individually I learn to live with AI. And I'm not saying necessarily that everything is AI. So, to answer your
Yeah,
question, AI first
please.
approach, I think it's I, again, I kind of say that, I don't want to jump in and say everything is AI, so therefore
Mhm.
AI first, right? I mean, I have to be smart about it. So, just in the services business, Fabio, they say that the
Oh,
customer success is or customer service center is going to be hugely impacted by AI because everything can be run by an AI, right? I mean, all the data is there, all the answers can be provided. A voice enabled AI can just, talk to you and give you all the answers, right? But then there are certain sectors in the market which probably will not best respond to an AI enabled system, though it might be more correct than a human being responding to you. You still will want a human being to be on the other side of the conversation to help you with some problem that you're trying to tackle, let's say
right.
healthcare, right? I'd feel far more comfortable if it is not just AI talking to me. I'd have a human being on the other side. It depends also
Mhm.
who I am. So therefore, what kind of service I want. So, you don't want necessarily to say it's AI everywhere, but to be able to say, how do I create an organization? And I love the term you start, the word you started with, which is how you design this, right? The design thinking has to be brought in. You have to bring your imagination to this place and then say, okay, this is one area where I can use AI fully, but this is one area where I still want somebody human to be there to take care of this issue, right? High net worth individuals in wealth management industry would want a human on the other side and not an AI responding to them. Otherwise, they're going to take their money and put it somewhere else, right? But I may be a young investor, okay, and I actually don't like to deal with human, so I prefer therefore to have an option to just deal with an AI and be done with it. I don't want somebody to keep be chatty with me on
Mhm.
the other side, correct? So I think that's one thing about AI first, and do say this to a lot of people, that it is depending on what kind of brand you're creating for your offering, okay, and what kind of customers you're serving, and therefore how do you going to adjust that internally from driving efficiencies perspective. Absolutely, you know I want to try and see to what degree I can bring in automation. I love this again, what Fadl said, that it's not AI, it's whatever technology I can use to build automation, so my dependency on a human being doing the grunt work is less so, right? And I can then use that talent to do a lot more creative thinking at my end, right? Because this is where the competition will be, and this is where I need to work very hard to differentiate, because AI also will make everybody at the level playing field. Everybody will have access to the same tools. So how do I differentiate? I think I differentiate with my talent, who can very creatively, okay, differentiate ourselves, right? So again, goes back to brand, what I'm serving, who I'm serving, and how am I going to differentiate myself. The other thing is job fulfillment, or the satisfaction of what you're doing, right? you know Whether I have 100 people or I have 10 people in my company, I want to design of my organization such a way that they are happy working here, right? I mean, we don't want them to become slaves to AI, right? We want to enjoy, being with AI. I mean, or whatever technology it might be. It may not be even called AI after some time, right? And that's the other thing. So I think we want to ensure that we're creating designing an organization, designing a service, designing a product, or an ecosystem or a world that allows us to coexist happily with whatever technologies that are coming up.
Yeah. I really like that term, Acky, coexist, because really we're forming this where a lot of people are talking about this equation in terms of what is the balance between the human and then the AI in terms of the results being produced. And perhaps we're thinking about it more as static and we need to think of the equation more as dynamic. But I really like this coexist with it. So that kind of leads us into our last and final question, looking towards the future. How do you see the relationship between human creativity and machine intelligence evolving in your industry? So we'll start with Fadl first.
Human creativity and machine intelligence within our
Yeah.
industry specifically.
Yeah, it's a tough question. It's about that whole equation we're seeing now, finding the balance.
Yeah. I mean, I want to share an unpopular opinion that there's not a ton of creativity I see around us in higher education, unfortunately,
Oh,
to begin with. So, in a wishful scenario, one could see AI driving creativity and, driving the need for creativity as the space becomes more competitive and sort of as basic things get more automated. Um, but I think where we're probably going to see, I would see innovation more than creativity is really going to be in personalized learning. I think that's really the biggest impact that we can see and that we will see as a result of AI. Something that was simply unachievable before. And I think collectively the industry will be aligned around the need for it because unlike the old days when we had phases like everyone at one point was obsessed with like VR and like, okay, let's make all students wear goggles and do stuff, and then people realized, well, it doesn't really drive outcomes. So let's sort of stop the gimmicks. I think here, the one thing that we're going to see, I think, consensus alignment behind is how AI can drive much more personalized learning and therefore significantly drive outcomes, whether it's for special needs or otherwise. That's going to be the biggest, I think, area of innovation we're going to see, of impactful innovation, I would say.
mhm. And that innovation helping elevate the accessibility for humans to have that creativity, perhaps
Definitely.
together. I love it. All right, and Aki, passing it to you.
I'll actually, first of all, I concur with Fadl on that one. I think the other thing is that I think, a lot of times students often feel that by inherent nature of who they are and they are nurturing so far, they cannot therefore go to pursue a certain career or a certain, learning of certain skills. I'll give you an example. Hey, I'm not that great, at creating, writing. I'm not that great at writing, and therefore, I want to write a novel, but I can't, and so I can't pursue creative writing in my career. With AI, I think that becomes a level playing field, and I can still go and pursue that. Learning a skill like music, right? I mean, there's so much now AI helps enable the learner to do, and therefore, it brings me to a level, okay, where that nurturing, or my background, my past doesn't come in my way of learning some new skills. And I think, I feel that human creativity and machine intelligence coexisting would make it easier for me to tackle any challenge that I can put my heart and my mind into. And I say, hey, now I want to do this for the next 5 years, I can actually jump in. So I think it's possible for me to leverage the technology that's there and then apply, whatever creative I can bring to it. And in fact, I feel that with that diversity in the mix, I think we might have a much more richer world, and not struggle the way we are currently struggling, especially because I'm in the talent business, right? And I'm always struggling to bring people. My dream is that if I can hire, a commerce graduate and say, hey, now start programming tomorrow.
But
Actually, that person might be very good because, it's very hard for me to train programmers to learn business and then do programming for, accounting or whatever. But, guess what? Somebody's got an accounting degree now. Say, hey, start programming
Yep.
with machine intelligence, chat GPT. Maybe they can, and therefore they can become a lot more effective, and therefore I can have a much richer, better world, better product coming out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Leveling the playing field and then also giving the opportunity maybe they didn't know previously to be creative now with this whole new
Yes.
innovation. I love it. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it off because it seems very positive, hopeful, and really tying together this whole discussion of innovation internally, externally, and how it's evolving in our industry. I want to thank you both for joining me here today in this space to have a positive discussion about AI and education. And are there any final notes that you guys would like to add before we close out?
No, I think this is wonderful. Thank you, Fadl, for your time today, and really appreciate the insights that you've given us from your perspective. Would love to keep the dialogue going on. Hopefully, we'll meet in person and catch up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kiara, and thank you, Acky. A pleasure being with you both today.
Yes.
Thank you again. Take care then.
Thank you so
Bye bye then.
much. And stay curious.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Thank you again.